Some of the most powerful places in the world aren't even on the map, at least. Not the map you're used to seeing. They're tiny, remote, and to most people irrelevant. But for the world's richest corporations, political elites, and organized criminals, these places are gateways. Gateways to a parallel financial system where billions move in silence. Laws are more suggestion than rule, and reality itself can be blurred to protect the powerful. One of these places, perhaps the most mysterious of all, is so small, so unremarkable in size, that you could walk across it in less than an hour. And yet, it has quietly moved more money than the economies of entire nations. This is the story of the billion-dollar island that doesn't exist. To begin, we have to understand what doesn't exist really means, because physically, this island exists. It has beaches, palm trees, a few buildings. But in the world of law, geography, and finance, it has been made invisible. Maps omit it. GPS satellites blur it. Official government registries list it under jurisdictions thousands of miles away. It's a shadow territory, and that's by design. In the early 20th century, this island was nothing more than a colonial outpost, a forgotten speck claimed by an empire that barely visited it. Its population was a handful of fishermen and a rotating cast of soldiers who would rather be anywhere else. But by the 1970s, something changed. A handful of lawyers and bankers realized that this island's unusual legal status could be turned into a goldmine, because it wasn't fully recognized as a sovereign nation, nor was it fully bound by the laws of the country that claimed it. It was in between, a loophole you could stand on. The plan was simple. First, the island's government, a handful of appointed officials, passed new financial freedom laws. These guaranteed that anyone could register a business here without revealing who actually owned it. Then, they set corporate tax rates at zero. No income tax, no capital gains tax, no questions asked. And finally, they sold the idea to the world. Flyers went out to banks in Switzerland, law firms in London, real estate agents in Hong Kong. It was the perfect pitch, a place where your money could exist, without you existing in the paperwork. The first to arrive were shipping companies. Then came oil traders. By the 1980s, drug cartels were wiring millions here through shell companies. Every business had a P.O. box address. Sometimes dozens of companies would share the same single mailbox. No offices, no employees, just paperwork and money. But here's where it gets stranger. In the 1990s, the island's financial system became fully digital, and it stopped needing to physically host anything at all. You could register a company from a hotel room in Singapore, a yacht in Monaco, or a penthouse in New York. And on paper, that company was now based on the island, its profits, untouchable, its owners, invisible. By the early 2000s, the island's registry had ballooned. For every real person living here, maybe 3,000 in total, there were over 50,000 companies. Think about that. If the entire population met in one place, every person would own more than a dozen businesses. Except they didn't. Those owners were scattered across the globe. Billionaires, corporations, corrupt politicians, and, yes, criminals. And then came the scandal. In the mid-2010s, a trove of leaked documents, thousands of pages of bank records, corporate filings and emails, spilled into the hands of journalists. They revealed how this tiny island was a keystone in the world's shadow economy. Russian oligarchs moved oil profits through it. African dictators laundered aid money through it. Multinational corporations shifted billions in profits here to avoid taxes entirely. The scale was staggering. Billions of dollars, maybe trillions over decades, slipping through the cracks of the global system. Governments swore to act. New regulations were proposed. The island was placed on international blacklists, but here's the twist. The money never stopped, because the island's leaders knew the truth. Once the wealthy and powerful are comfortable somewhere, they rarely leave. A few cosmetic changes were made. A few banks closed accounts for obvious criminals. But the core system, the shell companies, the secrecy, the zero taxes, remained. Today, the island still appears, and doesn't appear, depending on where you look. Tourists see a sleepy tropical getaway. Locals see a place where the rent is high but jobs are scarce. But behind the scenes, on encrypted servers and in offshore accounts, the real island exists, as a legal fiction moving unimaginable sums around the globe. The billion-dollar island that doesn't exist is a reminder of something uncomfortable, that the map of the world we're taught in school isn't the real map. The real map is one of power, of money, of influence, and the most important borders aren't lines on the ground. They're lines in the law. Lines that can be bent, blurred, or erased entirely, if you have the money to pay the right people. Now here's the question. If so much money, power, and corruption can hide on an island you can't even find on the map, how many more are out there? And if we can't see them, how will we ever know when they've gone too far?